Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. I'm Tash, and if you're new here, this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put out regular tutorials demonstrating a technique that I might have used in my knitting or answering a question that someone might have asked me. So it's Thursday the 30th of November, and I'm recording here from Sydney, Australia. So I'm going to jump straight into my one finished object for the week, and that is the Purl Soho Classic Ribbed Hat. And I used Madelinetosh MCN Sport in the colourway Stovepipe. And I used about just under 3/4 of the skein. So even though it says the yarn is listed as a sport weight yarn, it's about 230 metres in 115 gram skein. So for me, it knits up closer to a DK weight. So if I knit it just in normal stockinette, I get 21 stitches over 4 inches. I think on like a 3.75mm needle. So for me, that's closer to a DK. And that's the weight that this pattern is written for. So it's a free pattern. I cast on 100, there's a number of different sizes. I cast on 120 stitches, and I used Judy's Magic cast on for a tubular cast on. I'll just show you, that's the cast on there, which I think is really nice. So you can see it's got a really deep folded brim that's about 3 inches long. This hat weighs 85.5 grams, and I've got 34 grams left over. So if that is accurate, if there's 230 meters in the whole skein, and given what I've used and what I've got left, that would be 164 meters. I'm not always sure if that's entirely accurate with I feel more confident with that with like a commercial yarn. With the hand-dyed one, I'm not entirely sure, but let's say around 165 meters. I think if you've got 180 meters, you should be pretty safe. The one thing I forgot to do was to weigh the yarn at the start of the decreases. That's what I usually like to do, because that's sort of when you're playing yarn chicken to work out have you got enough left. And especially with things like hats, you're often, well for me, I'm often using leftovers. So if this is a repeat knit, I'd like to know with another ball of yarn, if I don't have the whole skein, am I going to have enough? And because it's bottom up, I can't just say, oh, I'll just knit the ribbing a little bit less. Well, yes, I could, but how much less to make sure I don't run out? So anyway, the only way you can really get around that is if you do it top down. And this is a bottom up hat. So I suppose you could probably switch it to a top down, but then you're doing increases instead of decreases, and that doesn't always look quite as good. Anyway, so it's a 1x1 rib hat, super, super stretchy. There was a knit along that finishes tomorrow actually, so I should get this photographed and put up on Instagram. I need to look up all the details. If there's probably like I'll put in the down bar if there's like a hashtag. Anyway, by the time this comes out, it's probably too late to join in the knit along, so you might already know about it though. And let me see, so it's 11 inches from here. If I measure straight up to the tip, it's 11 inches. And the pattern says to start the decreases at 8 1/4 inches, and that's exactly what I did. I started them. Now that's 8 1/4 inches measured unstretched, because obviously if you stretch it out, it's going to shrink it up. So measuring unstretched, 8 1/4 inches, then I started the decreases, and by the time the decreases are finished, it's 11 inches. Right, so that's lots of details there. Hopefully that's enough for you to sort of get an idea if you wanted to make it, and you like how this looks. So I'll just try it on. So it's got that's 3 inches wide. It's a really wide brim. It covers my ears all the way. And I guess what you could do is make a smaller brim and have it a little bit slouchy, I guess, although that's not super slouchy. I guess you'd have to knit it a bit longer to make it slouchy. Anyway, I don't really like them super slouchy. I like my ears nice and warm, and yep, that's it. I think it's really nice and cozy. This is for my husband, because I've already made a jumper for him in the same yarn. Not that he'll necessarily wear it together, but I know he likes the colour. So yep, so that's my one finished object for the week. The only other finished object that I thought I would talk about is my Friend from the Vault, which is what I'm wearing right now. And that is Whinfell by Jennifer Steingass. And it was designed as what is a sweater that's knit from the bottom up, and I've just turned it into a dress. So I'll stand up and show you. So it's just a line. and I'll talk a little bit. The yarn is Western Sky Knits Superwash Sport. So it's actually designed for a fingering weight yarn, but I used a sport weight yarn, which I thought, like I got gauge and I thought that would probably work okay for the sweater in turning it into a dress, so it wasn't like a slightly heavier yarn, so it's less light and flimsy. It's just got a little bit more structure to it. So what I did, because it's a bottom up sweater and I didn't want to knit it bottom up and then not know how long it was going to be, I'll put a picture up here of sort of the work in progress. I did a provisional cast on here and then I knit up. So obviously because it's bottom up, all of this colour work needs to be done bottom up to get this look, right? It's not going to be the same if you just try to reverse it going down. So I did a provisional cast on, knit up, and then did an I-cord bind off. It's a little bit tight, it's a bit hard to get. I mean, obviously this fits the bill for me with like a high back neck, but it's a little snug. It's got a bit of elasticity, but I think it's only got something like 88 stitches, so it's not a lot of stitches there, and it's an I-cord bind off, which doesn't have as much stretch, but I can just get it off. So, and on. What else did I do? I ended up taking off for the sleeves. So it was actually sort of just up here when I split, and then, when I started, and then I split for the sleeves, and I took off, I think something like 75 stitches, which was just way too many. So I decreased pretty rapidly down to about 60. So it's sort of got this kind of like a little puff sleeve kind of effect, which isn't what I was going for. But by the time I'd knit, I think by the time I'd kind of really realized it was, I'd knit all of the yoke and I'd knit a fair bit of the body going down. So I think it's fine. Like it's not big, crazy and boofy, but probably what I would do next time is I certainly wouldn't leave off quite as many. I would leave off a lot less stitches for the sleeve. I think I've got about 200 stitches for the body, and I just measured it earlier, and it's exactly 32 inches, and my bust is 32 inches. So that means I've got, for this, for the chest measurement, 0 ease. What I did was I just did increases as I went down the sweater, down the dress, roughly about every 2 inches. I increased 4 stitches around, just sort of 2 on the front and back on either side. But I have promised to do like a proper tutorial on, the measurements and how based on your stitch gauge and row gauge and how big you want it to be, how to space out those increases. So I will do that. In fact, I might even use this dress I'll do that this week. I'll use this dress as an example. So rather than bore everyone in this video, if you're not interested in the mathing part of it, or sometimes it's nice just to have that in its own separate video, rather than you're like, it was somewhere in that video, I can't remember exactly where. So I'll just do one separate video on exactly how I space out those increases in terms of my planning, so that I know that it will have, enough clearance for my hips. And I'll give you like my hip measurements as well and how long I make it. And so for me, this is sort of a bit just above knee length. And yeah, I love it. I think, obviously it's very bright. It's quite like out there. So this yarn was Western Sky Knits, but the contrast yarn is Madelinetosh Pashmina. So the navy is ink, and the, it's mostly white. It's actually very light grey is Silver Fox. So yeah, it was a really fun knit. I really enjoy Jennifer's patterns. I've obviously done a few friends from the vault from Jennifer, and she's got quite a good back catalogue, so there's still plenty more. And obviously, I like the repeat knit, so I'd actually really be quite happy to make a sweater version of this in fingering weight. I think it would be really lovely, and without the boofy sleeves. Right, so anyway, my computer's just turned off my notes. Where am I up to? Right, so I think that's it for my friend. I just want to see if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. No, I think that's it. Yeah, I cord edging for the sleeves, but for the body, I didn't want that kind of stiff edging, so I think I just did a 1x1 rib for the bottom. Okay, so my next segment is my works in progress. So I have 3 new works in progress, which puts me up to 5 works in progress now. So I'll start with the new ones. And this is the Oslo hat by PetiteKnit, and I'm using Madelinetosh DK Twist in the colorway Neon Red. This is a pretty similar color to my ranunculus. It's a very orangey red. So I actually started off with 112 stitches. I'll put a picture of it up there, and it just looked a little bit big. Probably wasn't going to be that big, but I just got a bit nervous. So I pulled it out and started again on 104 stitches. Most hats tend to be knit in multiples of 8 because that just works well for the decreases. So even though it's a paid for pattern, I don't think I'm giving anything major away. It's pretty standard hats, sort of, you know, like socks. They're like 56 stitches, 64, 72 for a large sock, right? So hats are kind of similar. So this is 112 with a DK weight yarn. I'm using 3.5mm needles, which is the recommended needle size. It's pretty firm. Like this yarn on this size needle is very dense. So I'll just put it up against one of my Musselburgh hats. So you can see that actually the width is pretty close. It's maybe a smidge smaller. Actually, it is pretty close, but because it's quite thick, and it's going to be doubled over, it will be probably a little bit snugger than my, sorry, my son's just arriving home, and I think the dog's probably going to start going crazy. So this is about 6 inches long now, maybe a bit more, maybe 6.5 inches long, and I'm ready to fold it up. It's a little bit shorter than the pattern suggests, but I think from, I was watching Rachel from Those Twins Who Knit, and she just knit an Oslo hat, and she found hers was just a little bit long, and you know, ended up with like just a little bit too much of a pointy peak. So I think I'm going to sort of cut it a little bit shorter, and so I did a provisional cast on so that I can unpick that and put those stitches on needles, and then I'll have these live stitches and knit them together with every stitch with these live stitches, so that then that will seam it. It can be a bit tricky with picking up the cast on stitches. Obviously it takes time to pick up the cast on stitches. Then you have to make sure that that when you're seaming them, that the one that you're seaming it with is directly underneath, so you don't have it sort of on an angle. So it's, you know, the safest way is to just do a provisional cast on, and it really doesn't take that much longer. And I'll put that, so I think that's where I'm at. Like that's one ball. The pattern seems to take just over a ball for this, I'm not sure for this size, because I did go down from 112 to 104. It might still take a bit more than one ball, and I actually have 3 skeins of this. I had planned to make Hero by Julia Farwell Clay. I'll put a picture of the ladies version that I really liked and that kind of inspired me, but then I was having trouble. This arrived and it was a bit more orange than I had planned and I was going for, and so I just kind of shelved it for a while, and then Hero sort of, I guess, you know, fell by the wayside and other patterns sort of jumped in front of it. So, but I, you know, just when I was looking, I was like, I still really like that sweater. I still would really like to make it. Anyway, I'm digressing. For the PetiteKnit hat, I'm at the point now, because I think I'd like to take this to Japan. Certainly if I'm wearing this, my husband and my son won't, you know, lose me in a crowd. So I'm ready to join that together, do the bit of, there's like a little bit of reverse stockinette, even though you knit it, like you just knit it, I don't know. There's a little bit of what is reverse stockinette, which is I think meant to help it when you, because it will be a triple fold brim. So it will be a double fold when I join it together, and then you fold it up again, and then you've got like a single layer. So it will be a triple fold. So the Musselburgh is a it's a quadruple fold, because with a Musselburgh, you put this like inside, so then that's double thick, and then when you fold it over, that's 4 layers. Whereas with this one, I'll join it together so the brim will be double thick, and then you fold it up onto something that's only single thickness. So this will be a triple fold brim as opposed to the Musselburgh, which is a 4 fold brim. But then this is fingering weight and this is DK weight. So this should be pretty warm for Japan. We'll see how we go, because obviously it's winter there. Let me see, is there anything else I did differently? yeah, I'll be very curious to see whether I can get it all out of one skein, and I'll make sure that when I start the decreases, I weigh the yarn at the start and at the end. But again, this is a non-commercial yarn, so in terms of the meterage, I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't mind doing this again with a more like a commercial yarn where I feel more confident of the yardage, so that then if I make, I reckon, I haven't even finished this, but I reckon I'll make it again because it's kind of like a muscle grab but out of heavier weight yarn, so it should be a bit quicker. Because this is a fair bit of knitting, like 400 meters of knitting generally. A muscle bra is pretty close to, maybe not 400 meters, 400 yards, about 350 meters of knitting. Whereas even if I knit this whole skein, that's still only about 220 and a lot less rows because the needles are bigger. Are they bigger? I'll have to, maybe they're not, but obviously the row gauge would be different. So even if you've got the same needle size, if the yarn is thinner, it's going to take a lot more rows to, you know, get the inches. So anyway, that's cast on number 1, and I'll take some photos along the way to sort of show my progression when I put it together and then do the other end. Anyway, that's enough on that one. I reckon that will be finished by next week for sure. My second new cast on is Alpine Bloom. So Alpine Bloom, there's been a new version of it, which is like the Autumn Alpine. I'm actually, I bought the Alpine Bloom pattern. I thought I hadn't actually already bought it. But then when I went to buy it, I was like, in my library, oh, I bought it. And then I was thinking, when did I buy it? I bought it in August this year, and because you can actually look and see your orders on Ravelry, and it was 20% off. So I obviously bought it when when it just came out and there was a sale on it. So and I also bought the hat pattern. I didn't even know I bought the hat pattern. Anyway, maybe it was late at night when I bought it. It was certainly on sale, and I was like, oh, that was on sale too, so I bought them both. So, but I am not doing the lace neckline. I'm not a big fan. I think that's perhaps just a bit too romantic for me. I really like, what's her name? Vanessa Kind, her version. It's amazing, the green and the pink. I've shown it before, I think. And she just did a twisted rib. So that's what I've done, a twisted rib. I just did a long tail cast on because I wasn't really sure about doing, I know I can do a different cast on, like Judy's Magic cast on for a tubular cast on with regular 1x1, but I just wasn't sure about how that would work with twisted rib. And I thought, you know what, I actually really want lots of stretch for this. And so yeah, so I just did a long tail cast on. And I put it on obviously I'm not knitting it on, those needles are too big. I'm knitting normally on a 16-inch circular for the neckline, but I just put it on that so I could try it on. So just pop it on. So you can see it's definitely got a bigger neckline than this dress, but it's just going to be a top. So it'll be, it's out of wool, but it's fingering weight wool. And I quite like a fingering weight wool short sleeve top for, especially for spring and fall. Anyway, so you can't see it very well, but you can at least see, I wanted to try it on so you could sort of see just the size of the neckline. And the neckline actually does have a fairly, like it's not close up here, it's a sort of out here a little bit, and I'll just show you. So that is Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light in the colorway Nocturne, and I'm sort of at the point where I'm nearly finished the ribbing, and you do a few short rows and then you jump pretty much straight into the color work. So I'll just show you, I did a little swatch of the color work, and like a little swatch, because I really just wanted to make sure that the contrast yarn, here it is, Peach Bellini, was going to look all right because of the variegation. I was a little bit unsure if the design would show as well as I liked, and it totally does. I think it's actually really pretty. And somebody did a version of this with Madelinetosh, and the contrast color was Holly Festival. At least I think it was. At least that's what's written in the ladies project. So I'll put a picture of it up here, and it has a lot of variegation in the contrast, and it looks really, really beautiful. So that sort of inspired me, and then my swatch made me happy enough. So I thought, yes, that's going to be really, really lovely. So I'm really happy that I've cast that on. And my third new work in progress is a second version of Dotted Rays. So I made, this is my first version in, I can't remember what the yarn is. I know it's Circus Tonic handmade. I can't remember but I'll put details of I'll put a link to the project down below. And it's a really lovely, mostly garter with eyelets shawl. And yeah, it was really easy and really enjoyable knit. It's got a lovely I-cord edging. Yeah, I really, really like it. So I started a new one out of this Dingo Dyeworks, I think it's Jumbuck yarn, which is mostly grey with these little flecks of pink, very Barbie pink. And the reason I cast this on, yep, that's the right side. I cast this on. This is going to be my Japan travel knitting. So it's really a very straightforward pattern, very intuitive once you've got it sort of set up. I do need the pattern with me just when I start a new section, but other than that, I'm like, you know, you do a lot of short rows and I just keep moving a marker so I don't have to count for the short rows. So, and I did an I-cord cast on, and I used my, it's funny because that's one of the advantages. I love being able to do this, is I've done a video on something and then I watch my own video. I'm like, oh, I've got to do that I-cord cast on, the one that I did for Exploration Station. So I just did that, and you can see, hopefully you can see, you see how it's continuous. So I started, where did I start? There's the tail. So I started here, but you can't see any lines over the interrupting that I-cord edge. So I did a provisional, like it's only 3 stitches, but I did a provisional cast on and then was able to pick up those stitches, because I did, for my first one, I used Stephen's video, and like, I'm not dissing on Stephen. I just obviously wasn't following it from his video very well, because and maybe it's because he knits continental, I'm not sure, but I thought I was following what he was saying. Clearly I wasn't, or maybe he's just not that fussed. He doesn't use a provisional cast on. And when I cast on, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see very well there, but I've actually got like, anyway, to me that's not, there's a couple of spots where the yarn is actually coming over, so it's not, doesn't have that nice, anyway, I know it doesn't matter, it's at the back of the neck, but it matters enough to me, and it's not that hard. 3 stitches to do a provisional cast on, and you know, zoom, 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 finished, and then you get the nice edge. And for me, like, I think if something was a massive amount of work, I would probably go, oh, is it really worth it? It's at the back of the neck, it's not worth it. But it's not that much work. It's really very easy. So if you ever have to do an I-cord cast on, I would really recommend that video. Like, I am very happy with the result that I got from it. So anyway, what's next? My other 2 works in progress. Let me have a look. Before I jump into my new works in progress, I thought I would just mention that when I bought the pattern for the Oslo hat, I was umming and ahhing between buying the Oslo hat or the Oslo hat with mohair. And they're 2 separate patterns, and I'm not sure whether there's any value, like whether most people would just buy one or the other and figure out you don't really need both, but maybe you'll feel more comfortable buying one if you're going to do it with mohair. I just do so many repeat knits that I sort of thought, well, I'd rather just buy the one pattern, and that's the one that would work. Sometimes I'll knit it with fingering and mohair, sometimes I'll knit it with DK, sometimes I'll knit it with just fingering held double, which is what this pattern is actually designed for. So I don't really know that you need to buy both patterns, but what I think I might do is I will buy the other pattern and then I'll report back. They're both paid patterns, so I'm not going to give away the secret sauce. I've told you what number I cast on for here, but like hat patterns are multiples of 8. That's not, there's nothing secret there. But I'll buy the one with mohair and just report back and say, if you're on the fence, I'll look at both of them and suggest one or the other. I believe the Oslo hat with mohair has more sizes, but I'll report back as to whether, you know, other than that, are they basically the same pattern? You can just buy one rather than the other. I don't think that's, I don't know. I'm happy to hear feedback on that one. I haven't bought the other one. Am I giving away too much if I say basically they're the same pattern and just pick the Oslo hat with mohair because it's got more sizes, but it's basically the same as the Oslo hat? I'm interested to hear what people like. I don't want to do anything dodgy. I don't want to give away people's, you know, livelihood, right? you know, PetiteKnit, she's written the pattern, she deserves to, I've bought the pattern, I'd like other people to buy the pattern, but do I think you need to buy both? I'd like to at least report back and say, you know, before having bought both of them, actually you probably just need to buy one. So anyway, I am very happy to hear what people think about that. The other thing is, like, for example, Alpine Bloom. I bought Alpine Bloom, I already bought it back in August. Caitlin has come out with a new version, Autumn Alpine, which is a different sweater to purchase. It's got a very different neck treatment. The yoke, I believe, is the same, the gauge is the same. I haven't bought Autumn Alpine, but I wonder if they're pretty much just the same pattern, and given that I've bought this one, Alpine Bloom, whether I could just sort of look at Autumn Alpine and, you know, you can make any kind of modifications. I've changed the neckline here already, right? I'm not doing the lace pattern. I have the pattern that has the lace thing if I want to do that, but I also am just going to do a rib. This one looks quite interesting. It's got some sort of little slipped stitches. It's got like a mosaic kind of edging, it looks like, but I'm not sure because I haven't bought the pattern. But anyway, I'm doing Alpine Bloom. I'm not doing Autumn Alpine, but I'm doing Alpine Bloom with a different neckline. Anyway, right, so onto my current works in progress, aside from the new ones, the ones that are still on the needles from last week, and I will talk about the field sweater. Actually, you know what, I might get changed and then I can try it on. Right, so my fourth work in progress is the field sweater by Camilla Vad, and I am knitting this out of Isager yarn. That's Highland wool in the colorway Rhubarb, and that's their silk mohair. So I'm holding those together, and I finished the body, yay! So, and I measured it across actually after, I haven't blocked it yet, but I measured it across, it's 33 inches across. So I'm knitting the 37-inch size, and, oh, I forgot to mention what size I'm knitting with Alpine Bloom. I've only done the ribbing, oh yeah, I'm knitting the smallest size. So whatever size that is, I'll put it down underneath with Alpine Bloom. Oh, I can go back and do that, can't I? Forgetting. Anyway, for this one, I'm knitting the 37-inch size, which is the smallest size, but the gauge is meant to be 20 stitches over 4 inches, and I'm getting 22.5. So that gives me a bust circumference of 33 inches, which is 1 inch of positive ease. I knit it to about 12 inches down with no waist decreases. That's 12 inches including the ribbing. The pattern says to use the same needle size for the bottom ribbing, and I usually go down 2 needle sizes. So, and I had a look at some other projects and I thought, oh, it looks actually a little bit flary. So I went down 1 needle size. So this ribbing is on a 3.5mm needle, and I used a 3.75 for the bottom. And actually I think that's fine. It's not like cinching in, but it just feels like it's just flat, right? And I did a tubular bind off, which is, I'll put a link down with, for tech knitters. You know, I did 2 rows of double knitting and then put the knits on one needle, the pearls on another needle, and then grafted them together. And oh, I'm actually really hoping I can get this. I wonder if I can get this finished for Japan. We leave in about 10 days. So if I could, that would be awesome. Let me see. So I've just put the sleeve stitches on, and that blue marker is where I picked up. So I've only just really started. And the pattern has you decrease pretty, like every maybe couple of inches down, but you know, I've mentioned before my arms are pretty straight, and I think what might look nice in this sweater would be going straight down and then a little bit of a rapid decrease, and I reckon maybe even a deep cuff might be nice. I'm not sure. I probably don't want to take the attention away from this, but I don't, I won't do a lot of decreases, because even I've got 62 stitches on here now. That's not a huge amount. That gives my arm circumference about 11 inches. So yeah, anyway, I think even if I do some decreases, I won't do a lot, and I'll probably do it the same amount of ribbing on my on the wrist cuff, and I'll make them pretty substantially long. Like I'll definitely make them come down at least this far, because it's a warm sweater. It comes high up my neck. So I'm going to be, when I wear this, I'll be wearing it when it's really cold. So I will definitely want it covered. Was there anything else I was going to say? There was something I was going to say about it. Oh yeah, what I really liked in the pattern is that there were 6 cast on stitches under the arms, but Camilla wrote it to pick up 8 stitches, which I really appreciate. You're going to pick up a stitch on either side to close the gap anyway, and then she has you decrease them straight away. So they're not meant to be part of the stitch count, but you pick them up and then you decrease them. The only thing I didn't like is that she doesn't get you to start halfway through the cast on. I always like to start halfway through the cast on because I think that's the center of the sleeve. Like, why not start in the center? Why start at one end? Anyway, personal preference, but I always change that. I just don't really even pay attention to what, I looked at what the pattern said and went, well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to start halfway. Yes, so I think because that's all just stockinette in the round, even though it's magic looping, it's going pretty easily. I often go up a needle size, but I find that jump from 4 to 4.5 mils just a bit much. Like, obviously because that's the first 0.5 millimeter jump. Normally it's like 3 mils, 3.25, 3.5, 3.75, 4, and then boom, you jump from 4 to 4.5. And was a bit worried that might be a little bit too much. So anyway, I'm sticking with the 4. I think it'll be all right. And I'm not decreasing anyway. So because I'm not decreasing, even if it's a little bit, the gauge is a little bit tighter, I'm keeping that same size all the way down. And 11 inches, that should be fine. I think that's definitely got ease. Like, I think my arm is only something like 9.5 inches, something like that. Let me see. Oh, not even 9 inches. So that's at least 2 inches of ease on my arm. So should be fine. And so my other work in progress is socks. So I feel very proud of myself. I have 1 sweater, 1 top, 1 pair of socks, 1 hat, and 1 shawl. So that's it on the needles. What I don't have is like a summery top. I have a wool top, but I don't have a summery top. So I think that will get cast on this week. So this is, anyway, the sock is the Skimmer socks by Sheila Stromberg, and I'm using the Wren and Ollie sock yarn in the colorway Cinnabar, and that marker shows me where I've started just going back and forth for the bottom of the foot, so that I can count and do the same on the other foot. But it's also a nice little marker for me in terms of like seeing how much progress I've made. So that's it there. And yeah, I don't really love the color, but you know, they're no-show socks, so you won't really see them, and I've got plenty of yarn. So, and I've already started, I'm gonna finish them, but this is like my emergency knitting. Not that knitting's ever really an emergency, but it's like I've got nothing else is in a position where I'm able to work on it, and then I'll go to this. And then of course this will get to a point where I can't work on this, where I've got to start doing around the bottom or the heel or something. So, but at the moment then I'll just cast on another hat. Right, so that's my works in progress. Where am I up to now? What has caught my eye? This is going to sound really funny, but the hat that has caught my eye is called the Grayson Hat by Camilla Vad, and I'll put a picture up here, but it's basically just a 1x1 rib hat. And it's knit with 2 strands of fingering and 1 strand of silk mohair. And the reason I saw it was I have this Vichy Bouche Le Gros lamb's wool in this, you know, I've got one in the, if you watched the last episode, I've got this in the pink colorway, enough for a sweater, and I've got a single skein of this cream yarn. And I saw someone had used this yarn with some silk mohair to make Grayson. And it just looked really, really nice. And I thought, oh, I could, you know, that will be a good use. Because that's what I do sometimes. When I've got a skein of yarn I'm not sure what to do with, I put the yarn in Ravelry, I take a look at projects, and you know, a small project like I had, and then I do like an advanced search to look for most favorites. And then, so this one popped up and it looked really lovely. And so it's knit on 6mm needles. So if you knit this with mohair, but it's 1x1 rib. And I looked at the pattern, and it's $9.30 Australian. And then you add GST, which is 10%. It's like $11 probably by the time, $10.30, $10.50 with fees and whatever. It's probably like $11 for a 1x1 ribbed hat pattern. And I just feel silly buying that. And it's not that I don't want to support the designer, but I'm like, I can figure that out, right? Like 1x1 rib, or maybe this is the thing usually, I'm like, I don't even want to think about it. I can't be bothered figuring it out. I'll just buy the pattern, and also I'll support the designer. It's their design that kind of caught my eye, so maybe I'll just buy it. Anyway, that's what's caught my eye. Grayson by Camilla Vad. It's just pretty funny that it's another 1x1 ribbed hat pattern. And obviously the Purl Soho one is free though. But yes, anyway, that's what's caught my eye, and that would be a really nice warm hat for Japan too. This, I wouldn't hold this double because this is a heavier weight, but this with one strand of silk mohair. And I have a whole tub of silk mohair leftovers, so I'm sure I could find something that would work nicely with this. I've definitely got some cream. Right, so that's the only thing that sort of specifically caught my eye. Purchases. So my purchases this week, I can't remember if I obviously bought the Oslo hat. I can't remember if I'd already bought that last week, but I bought the Oslo hat. The other pattern that I bought the other day was the Sailor Swift top by Veronika Lindberg, who's also Kutubakika. So the yarn that I'm planning on, so that's a purchase. The yarn that I'm planning on using for that, I'll just grab it. Right, sorry about that, is this Rowan Cotton Glace. But one thing that I noticed when I was sort of paying more attention reading the pattern, the yarn that she uses for it, 50 grams is about 180 meters, and 50 grams for this is 115 meters. So that's a substantially heavier yarn. Now I can get stitch gauge. I know I can get stitch gauge with this because I've used it before, but I think my row gauge is going to be longer. And because it's striped, and just in reading the pattern, it sort of is like not so much done in inches, but in sections of stripes. And I know I'm going to have to think a little bit about if I knit it as long as, or with all of the rows that she recommends in the pattern, and my row gauge is longer, my armholes might be significantly lower. So I've bought the pattern, but now I've kind of realized this yarn, it might just involve a little bit more thought in terms of actually cutting out some sections and how I'm going to manage that. So I'll have to think about that. The other thing that was kind of interesting for me as I was reading the pattern was the cast on for the back neckline is a backwards loop cast on. Now I know that's a legitimate cast on, but it's so loosey-goosey. So, and I know you do an I-cord, you do an I-cord pickup later. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know, because she's fairly new to designing, I think, and she's sort of done photography first and then moved to designing. Sometimes I can get, and if I've never knit any of her patterns before, this is her first one, I can get a bit nervous. So I'm not, and then when I see something like a backwards loop cast on, I think that's pretty unusual. Why are we using a backwards loop cast on? I could just trust the designer, but maybe I'll read a little bit more on the people's projects. So anyway, I haven't started that yet, but that's getting closer to actually getting on the needles now that I've actually bought the pattern. Right, so, the other thing that I'll mention, which isn't a purchase, but it is new to me, and that was a lovely viewer, Michelle, from, I think from Canada. She sent me a Christmas card, and in the card she popped in these higher flyers, which was so lovely of her. Now, I've never seen these before actually, so I'll just show you what they are. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're they're super, super tiny. And what they really are is bendy double points, basically. So you use them like double points for a sock or for sleeves or whatever, but you're not going to break them like you are a fixed double point, and they're just a little bit more flexible. So yeah, I'm really keen to try those out. So that's a 2.5 millimeter. And yeah, I've got to figure out what I'm going to make with them. But thank you very much, Michelle. That was such a nice treat to come home to. That was yesterday. Right, so I'm going to move on to my other plans, but I need a minute to get all my bits and bobs. Okay, I think I've got everything ready. I have to kind of move through this a little bit faster because I'm recording at a much later time than usual. And so I'm losing lots of light. It's already 10 to 6 here. So this, one of the things that I plan to make is the half and half wrap, which I've talked about a bit before, and I am ready to cast it on, but I think I will start it when I get back from Japan. I reckon I'll finish dotted rays while I'm away, and then I'll get started on on the half and half wrap. That's with Purl Soho Linen Quill in the colorway Baby Bird Blue and Red Poppy. Red Poppy, yes. So that's that plan. So I swatched, you know the yarn that if you've watched before, I had this pink Bichet Bouche, which was like that, this one here, but in a pink version that I had enough for a sweater. And I was thinking about it for Snow Wonder, but figured for Snow Wonder, I would like to buy yarn for it in an icy blue colorway because I want that color for the bobbles and everything. But I thought I'll just do a swatch in this just to see how it knits up. So that is knit on 4.5mm needles, and I get about 18 stitches over 4 inches. And I like the pink, but I'm not like wowed by it. So I'm thinking that what might be nice with this is actually to hold it with a mohair. And I just grabbed this one because it's in my stash. So I'm going to unpick that bind off and have a little go at knitting this with this mohair. I might have to buy, if it doesn't go well, I might have to buy another mohair, but I have a sweater quantity of this. And I was thinking maybe Magnolia Bloom. That's, this is actually really pretty. This is an Isager silk mohair, just like the one for the field sweater, but it's in obviously a different colorway 0, which is actually, it actually has some pink in that yarn actually. Yeah, so that's really pretty. I think I'm going to try swatching for that, and that's Magnolia Bloom is by Camilla Vad as well. I don't think I would get gauge. I think there's something like, gauge is something like 10 or 12 stitches over 4 inches. It's very bulky, but I could make, like, let's say the medium size and it would end up small, or I'll do a bit of mathing with the gauge, with whatever gauge I get, because even just knit like this on 4.5mm needles, I get 18 stitches. So with this on larger needles, it's, you know, I'll be getting closer anyway. So that will be something that I'll do during the week, another, like, just extend that swatch out a little bit, see what that's like. The other thing that I want to make is camisole number 4. So I've got my 2 swatches with this Knitting for Olive pure silk yarn. And so I plan to make camisole number 4 out of that. I also plan to make the Kutar top by Sari Nordland out of this Tin Lena. And I've done a swatch, but in another colorway. And I remembered why I used this one, because I have 3 balls of this and only 2 balls of this. So I just did the swatch in the purple, the one that I have plenty of yarn in. So that's a little bit small, so I might have to do a bit of mathing and maybe knit a slightly larger size or cast on more stitches under the arms. But I really like that pink. I like that pink a lot more than that pink. This is not normally my kind of pink, but you know, I think with white jeans or something that would look really nice. And I am going to make the another Anchor Summer shirt using this Habu Bamboo. Probably similar. Oh, I've pulled out the cast on. Similarly, I'll do that when, or the bind off, I'm pulling out the bind off there. I'll do that after I've got back from Japan, because I did just finish the blue version, and so I'm not quite ready to knit another one. But this is going to be a quick knit. This one might be just driven by, I want it in my wardrobe. So I won't mind starting it again, because I'll be like, I want to wear this. So, and I do, I just love that color. So yeah, I reckon this will be pretty cast on pretty soon after Japan. What else? I also plan to, I'm still thinking the Stovepipe sweater, of course, and I'll definitely look for yarn for that, and Snow Wonder when I'm away. But I just think this would look really nice. What I'm hoping, or what I really like in the Stovepipe sweater, is the very strong, bold, thick stripes of color in a mostly like non-variegated, not muddied. So even though this is like a semi-solid, it's mostly a solid, right? Like it's hand dyed, but it's pretty much one strong, punchy color. And I would like, and I've got plenty of this yarn, so I think this would be one of my colors. I definitely want some kind of light cream for the main color, and then I think I've got to look for 4 more colors. So especially if I take this yarn, like if I take this hat with me to Japan, then I'll know this is one of my colors because it's in my hat, and I just got to pick 4 more colors. So, and I really like that will be part of my Japan preparation, is to look through the versions on Ravelry and see like which ones I like, and what kind of, I mean, I'll probably like a lot of them, but which ones am I really going, in terms of the look that I want, which ones am I going for? Right, I think that's it. And then Snow Wonder is definitely what I would like as a, it's a future focused knit. I've already bought the pattern, but I don't have the yarn for it, but I'll be looking for some Brooklyn Tweed Shelter maybe, or something similar for that yarn, because obviously it was designed for Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and I quite like that yarn, and it's got really good yardage, and yeah, I kind of think, well, why not just use, given I don't have yarn in stash and I'm going to buy yarn, why not just buy the recommended yarn? So kind of would make sense, wouldn't it? Right, other craft, nothing at all at the moment. I thought I'd just mention, I've heard a couple of podcasters talking about Vlogmas. I would definitely not be doing Vlogmas this year. I think, I haven't really watched a lot of those, but when I watch them, they seem to be pretty like, you know, editing heavy. Like, for them to be interesting, people need to do quite a bit of editing. And I don't think my editing skills are up for that, up to the task, if that makes sense. Maybe next year, but I would like to be better. I mean, I do all of this editing on my phone, and I imagine most people do that on their phone, but I just don't. Anyway, I've got to get ready to go to Japan. I don't think it's, I'm definitely going to do some little, so instead of Vlogmas, I won't do Vlogmas, but I'll take a lot of footage from Japan, and maybe I'll try editing and putting those together to make some kind of interesting little videos related to the trip. And certainly I'll, if the Walnut in Kyoto will let me take any footage in there, I'll definitely show that, and I'll ask, if I get to Avril, I'll ask them as well. I mean, obviously got to ask before I just start videoing in their store. So yes, so I think that's probably it. I'm a bit like, this is way later for me recording, so I've been a little bit not as well organized. Oh, I forgot to mention one more thing. Plans. This is this is a La Bien-Aimée silk mohair. I've got 2 of those. I am going to make another ranunculus, but I'm not, again, I made one not that long ago, so I'm not in a big rush for that, but that is an upcoming plan. Maybe soonish, because it's a nice knit and it's very quick. Right, so thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get onto personal stuff now. So if you've enjoyed it, if you can like and subscribe and all of that, I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I will be doing one more recording before we go to Japan in 10 days time. So we leave on a Sunday, so I'll do another one on next Thursday before we go. And then I'm not really sure what my schedule will be like when I'm away for 2 weeks, whether I'll be able to, sure, I mean, Japan's pretty good with, you know, internets and all of that sort of stuff. So if I can take stuff and edit it and upload it, I'll do it. If not, and it's just too busy, I'll just do it when I get back. So, but yeah, there'll be one more video before I leave. So on Saturday, I taught at Skein Sisters. I had just the one class in the morning, and I had 3 students there. One of the students was actually Deb, who's the owner of the yarn shop, and another student was a viewer, Anne. So hi, Anne, if you're watching. So it was a really enjoyable class. I mean, I love teaching there. It was a little bit sad actually there, because the yarn store's actually really struggling. They're, you know, with interest rates rising and, you know, I guess yarn purchasing is a discretionary spend for a lot of people, and people are starting to go, okay, let me try and knit from stash. So as a result, they're just, you know, they're finding it really tough at the moment. So I think they've done, well, they put out a newsletter last Friday that said where they've done some refinancing, and hopefully they'll, you know, be able to turn it around. So I'm really conscious of wanting to support the store and just in general support individual yarn stores rather than buying yarn from a big box store. Like, I know sometimes, like, there's a place for that, and if that's what you can afford, then, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But as much as possible, I'm going to try to either buy from Skein Sisters or other, you know, LYSs. Even if they're in other countries, right, there's still small stores that need supporting. And I'm going to buy yarn in Japan. That's, you know, exciting for me. You know, I've never been there before, and I would like to buy yarn from there, but I also would like to, so I'll start buying some more. I mean, I've bought a fair bit from Skein Sisters. I bought all the yarn for Ingalls from there. I bought the Scout yarn, which I haven't knit yet. I've got 4 skeins of Tosh Merino Light in Scout that I've got to knit up. But certainly if Skein Sisters, if they have a yarn that would work for what I want to make, I would be prepared to buy it there rather than from somewhere else. It's just been difficult because I haven't been able to have much stock. So because it's just been, things have been so tight. So really hoping that things improve there and yeah, that we can really support them. So other than that, so Saturday was busy, taught in the morning. I went out to dinner with friends, actually went to their house. So it was actually to a dinner party. I haven't been to a dinner party in years. So there was 8 of us and it was so lovely. It was just, all duck and scallops and chocolate mousse puddings. It was really, really nice. So it just sort of inspired me. I thought, I mean, it's so much work though. But when I think about it though, the lady who invited us over, that's her joy, that's her love. She loves cooking. So, it's probably similar for us with knitting. That's my, I make something for you. And people aren't like, oh, that's too much, like they appreciate, like I like doing it. And if they're appreciative, and we were all definitely appreciative because it was delicious. So that was really lovely. That was on Saturday night. Other than that, it was just church on Sunday morning, cleaning the house in the afternoon and getting and schoolwork. So I've just had a really busy, just leading up to the end of the year. I've got 6 more school days left, so nearly finished. I've said goodbye to my year 10s today. I have my last class with them, and I've only got 3 more classes with my year 12s, but that is taking a lot of my work because it's extension 2 and it's hard math, and I have to really put in a lot of time to make sure I'm really on top of it. I had one really just emotional experience at school the other day. There's a student in my year 10 class who had been really, really sick, and anyway, he popped in. I saw him in the cafeteria and I hadn't seen him in maybe 5 months. Anyway, it's a miracle. He got influenza B and nearly died, and was in hospital for months. Anyway, it was just really lovely to see him. I'm not sure if I should be sharing this actually. I might end up, I guess I'm not using anybody's names. Anyway, it was really lovely to see him, and just, it was a miracle. We were all praying so hard for him. It was touch and go. We didn't know if he would make it. And he did, and he's well, and he's back at school. And it was just like, after I saw him and he left, I just had a little cry. It was just so emotional, so good to see him and to see him well, and a real answer to prayer. So other than that, just, all right, I had to stop my Google. I'm nearly finished. Anyway, so nothing else that much going on except today, I have such early starts. 3 mornings a week, I started teaching in the room, teaching at 7 a.m, which means I'm unlocking the school gates at 6:45, by 6:45, so the students can get in. I'm usually there at 6:40. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Wednesday, I had a meeting at 7:15. And then this morning, which is Thursday, I had to get my car to the service centre for 7:15. So I've had no sleep-ins this week. I'm really tired. So I'll definitely be going to bed early tonight, especially because I've got a 7 a.m. start tomorrow. Anyway, my car, my new car, got a whole new audio system. They replaced the audio system. So fingers crossed, no more dramas with my car. I'm really hoping. And that's why I'm recording so late, because I was at work until the car was fixed, and now it's like 6 o'clock at night. So yeah, I'm recording late, so that's why I'm a little bit discombobulated. Anyway, the only other thing that's happened this week is I had some dramas with my daughter's fish, where I think I overfed them while she was in Bali and 2 of them died. So I've had to be at the pet store having long conversations about cleaning tanks and replacing water and what to do. And I get, this is sound a bit silly, I eat fish, right? So I'm not averse to eating fish, but watching a fish get sick and die was actually really upsetting for me, and not know how to fix it, and trying to do whatever I could to fix it, and it was still not working. So anyway, I think we've got the tank sorted. 2 of her fish died. She seems okay. She's forgiven me. But I just am very happy I think the tank is okay now. We bought a new fish, and she's got 2 little guppies that didn't die. And so hopefully everything's okay there. That's enough on the fish. I do not want to own fish. I just don't know what I'm doing with it. But that's taken quite a bit of my time, and also just, that will sound really crazy, but like it's actually upsetting watching something struggle, like when you can see that the fish is not swimming properly, or at the bottom of the tank just struggling to breathe, and you're like, I don't know what to do. So anyway, they didn't make it. Hopefully, I think the new fish looks okay. The water looks good. It looks clear. The tank is clean. Zach and I cleaned it yesterday. Fingers crossed for the fish. Enough on that. Sorry if I've totally bored you there, but I'm talking about my week. That's been my week at the pet barn, talking about how to get the ecosystem right. Anyway, I don't see myself ever buying fish for myself, now that she's home, they're back to her responsibility. That's enough on the fish. This week coming up is my husband's birthday on Saturday. He's actually got his beer club, Christmas club party that day, so I don't think we might just go out for brunch in the morning, and then he's going to be like a lunch thing, and it's mostly beer, so I don't think we'll be doing much on, we won't be doing anything on Saturday night for him, so we'll go out for brunch. And then I think packing on the weekend, right, because we'll be going to Japan and we've got the Foo Fighters coming up next Saturday night, so like it will be, my last day at school is Friday next week. I've got my first aid in the morning, we've got our work Christmas thing after that, Foo Fighters on Saturday night, and then on Sunday lunchtime we're off to Japan. So I think this weekend is definitely packing. Right, and I need to eat something. And yes, if you're still here, thanks for watching. Sorry if I'm not like as kind of, my brain is definitely, I think I need food. And yeah, I'll be back next week before I go to Japan. I hope everyone has a really great week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.